In the most rugged mountain regions of our world exists a fascinating linguistic phenomenon that few people know about. Whistled languages, not simple codes or signals, but complete language systems where spoken words transform into melodic whistles that carry for miles across deep valleys. Today, we'll explore these remarkable communication systems that have allowed isolated communities to stay connected for centuries, their unique properties that intrigue neuroscientists, and the fight to preserve these endangered cultural treasures in our modern world. Whistled languages represent one of humanity's most ingenious adaptations to challenging environments. These aren't simplified codes or basic signals, they're complete language systems where the tones and syllables of spoken languages transform into whistled melodies. The most famous example is Silbo Gomero from La Gomera in Spain's Canary Islands, but similar systems exist in the mountains of Turkey, Greece, Mexico, Papua New Guinea, and parts of West Africa. Each developed independently as communities faced the same fundamental challenge: how to communicate across vast, rugged terrain where walking to deliver a message might take hours. What makes these languages truly remarkable is their acoustic advantage. A whistled message can travel up to 8 kilometers across valleys under ideal conditions. That's 40 times farther than shouted speech, which typically reaches only about 200 meters. This extraordinary range made whistled languages invaluable for agricultural communities spread across mountainous landscapes, allowing instant communication for coordination, warnings, and even social announcements. Throughout history, whistled languages served vital functions in mountain communities. They announced births and deaths, coordinated complex agricultural activities requiring multiple people across different locations, warned of approaching strangers or potential dangers, and even facilitated courtship between young people in neighboring valleys. Imagine a farmer spotting an approaching storm from his high vantage point, immediately whistling a warning that reaches villages miles away, giving everyone time to secure crops and livestock. Or consider how these languages enabled communities to maintain social cohesion despite physical separation, with news, invitations to gatherings, and important announcements traveling instantly across impossible terrain. The geographic isolation that necessitated these communication systems also helped preserve them over generations. When villages are separated by treacherous mountain passes that might take hours to traverse, the ability to transmit messages instantly becomes not merely convenient but essential for survival and community functioning. This practical necessity embedded whistled languages deeply into the cultural identity of these regions, creating a unique heritage that connected people not just across space but across generations. Whistled languages function through a fascinating process of acoustic transformation. In tonal languages like Mazatec in Mexico, the pitch variations that naturally distinguish meaning are preserved in the whistle's melodic contours. In non-tonal languages like Spanish, which forms the basis for Silbo Gomero, whistlers convert the formants, the acoustic resonances of the vocal tract, into distinct whistle pitches. What's most remarkable is the efficiency of this compression. Most whistled languages use only two distinct pitches, high and low, yet can convey a remarkable complexity. A skilled whistler can reduce a language with dozens of phonemes to just a few whistled elements while maintaining intelligibility. This works because of context and shared knowledge among users, who can fill in missing information based on situation and expectation. The technique of whistling itself varies between cultures. Some practitioners use only their lips, while others insert fingers into their mouths to modulate pitch and volume with greater precision. The Mazatec whistlers of Mexico often cup their hands to amplify the sound and direct it across valleys. In Turkey's Black Sea region, whistlers sometimes use a leaf as a natural amplifier, demonstrating how these practices evolved harmoniously with available natural resources and environmental conditions. The mountain environments where whistled languages developed offer unique acoustic advantages that enhance this form of communication. Sound reflection off mountain walls creates natural amplification, bouncing whistled messages across valleys and around obstacles. The relative absence of competing noise in remote areas allows these high-pitched sounds to travel with minimal interference, something impossible in noisy urban environments. Temperature inversions, which are common in mountain valleys, create atmospheric conditions that can extend the range of whistled pitch even further. These inversions, where cooler air is trapped below warmer air, act like acoustic channels that carry sound waves much farther than normal. Whistlers learned through experience that communication works best during specific times, particularly in the early morning and evening hours when these favorable atmospheric conditions naturally occur. This is why many traditional whistled exchanges happened at dawn as people began their agricultural work, or at dusk as they returned home. The mountains themselves, often seen as barriers to communication, became essential components of this acoustic system, their contours, surfaces, and atmospheric effects all contributing to the remarkable efficiency of whistled languages. Whistled languages offer fascinating insights into how our brains process communication. Research conducted by neurolinguist Diana Pinto reveals something unexpected: whistled languages are processed in both hemispheres of the brain simultaneously. This is unusual because standard spoken language typically activates primarily the left hemisphere, which handles most linguistic processing. However, the musical qualities of whistled languages also engage the right hemisphere, which processes melodic and tonal information. This dual hemisphere activation makes whistled languages a unique bridge between linguistic and musical processing in the human brain. Studies using functional MRI have shown increased connectivity between language and music processing regions in the brains of proficient whistlers. This suggests that mastering a whistled language may enhance neural pathways that connect these typically separate cognitive domains. Regular practitioners also develop enhanced abilities to distinguish subtle pitch variations, demonstrating remarkable auditory perception skills that extend beyond language use. These findings have prompted interest from music educators and auditory rehabilitation specialists who see potential applications for training musical perception and treating certain hearing disorders. The cognitive flexibility required to transform conventional speech into whistled form, and then back again for comprehension, represents a specialized neural adaptation that few other communication systems demand. By the late 20th century, many whistled languages faced extinction as telecommunications technology reached even remote areas. Silbo Gomero had dwindled to just a few dozen elderly practitioners by the 1990s. Recognizing the imminent loss of this cultural treasure, the Canary Islands government took unprecedented action, mandating Silbo instruction in all of La Gomera's schools starting in 1999. This initiative ensured that thousands of children would learn this ancient communication system as part of their regular education. The cultural significance received international recognition when UNESCO declared Silbo Gomero a masterpiece of humanity's oral and intangible heritage in 2009. Similar protection efforts have emerged for Turkey's Kuş Dili or bird language in the village of Kuşköy, where annual festivals now celebrate this heritage. Community-led initiatives have become vital to preservation, with elders teaching younger generations through apprenticeship models. In La Gomera, intergenerational whistling clubs bring together practitioners of all ages, creating social spaces where the language can thrive outside the classroom. Digital preservation has also played a crucial role, with linguists recording over 10,000 phrases in some whistled languages. These comprehensive archives include audio recordings, video demonstrations, and interactive learning tools that document not just the sounds, but the contexts and cultural practices surrounding whistled communication. Despite growing recognition and preservation efforts, whistled languages face significant challenges in the modern world. The practicality of mobile phones has fundamentally diminished the functional need for whistled communication. Why whistle across valleys when you can simply make a call? This technological replacement strikes at the very purpose that sustained these languages for centuries. Urbanization continues to draw younger generations away from traditional rural communities where these languages originated. As village populations age and decline, the everyday contexts where whistled languages would naturally be used are disappearing. Even with school programs teaching the technical skills, the authentic cultural contexts that made these languages meaningful are harder to maintain. The challenge extends beyond mere documentation to keeping these languages as living, evolving systems rather than museum pieces. For many communities, however, the revival of whistled language has become a symbol of cultural resilience and pride. What began as a practical communication tool has transformed into a powerful marker of identity and heritage. This shift in purpose, from daily utility to cultural symbol, may ultimately be what saves these remarkable linguistic systems from disappearing completely, even as their original practical function fades into history. Beyond their cultural significance, whistled languages have attracted attention from researchers across multiple disciplines. Military researchers have studied these communication systems for their efficiency in transmitting information across rugged terrain without electronic equipment that could fail or be detected. The natural stealth and reliability of whistled languages in certain environments offer lessons for developing robust communication systems. Linguists see whistled languages as natural experiments in language compression and redundancy reduction. Recent studies using spectrograms have shown that whistled languages preserve approximately 70% of the informational content of their spoken counterparts, a remarkably efficient compression ratio that works because of shared contextual knowledge. This efficiency has inspired some computational linguists to explore analogous principles for digital language processing and transmission. The study of whistled languages has also contributed to our understanding of human auditory perception. The enhanced pitch discrimination abilities of experienced whistlers demonstrate the brain's remarkable plasticity in adapting to specialized communication needs. Some researchers are exploring whether training in whistled language discrimination might help people with certain auditory processing disorders develop better sound discrimination abilities. One of the most poetic aspects of whistled languages is their remarkable similarity to birdsong. By transforming human speech into melodic whistles that carry across valleys, these languages create a unique convergence between human and natural communication systems. Some whistled language communities report they can communicate with particular local bird species, and while this might sound like folklore, there are documented cases where certain whistled phrases attract specific birds or elicit responses from them. This convergence isn't merely coincidental. The acoustic properties that make bird song carry effectively through forest and mountain environments are precisely the same properties that whistled languages exploit. Both use high-pitched sounds that penetrate vegetation and travel around obstacles better than lower frequencies. Both employ melodic variation to encode information. And both adapt to the specific acoustic properties of their local environments. This parallel evolution of communication strategies across species boundaries represents a fascinating example of how similar environmental challenges can produce similar solutions, even across the divide between humans and birds. The whistler becomes, in essence, part human and part bird, adapting the uniquely human capacity for language to the avian approach to long-distance communication. As we look toward the future, whistled languages stand at a crossroads between preservation as cultural heritage and evolution into new forms with modern applications. Some communities are exploring innovative uses, such as incorporating whistled language into ecotourism experiences, creating a new economic incentive for maintaining this tradition. In Turkey, there have been discussions about training forest rangers in Kuş Dili for fire response in remote areas where cellular coverage is unreliable. The inherent reliability of whistled communication in areas with challenging topography offers advantages that even modern technology cannot always match. Emergency communication specialists have studied whistled languages for insights into developing systems that could function during disasters when electronic infrastructure fails. The principles of acoustic efficiency found in these languages could inform new approaches to emergency signaling. Educational applications are emerging as well. The cognitive benefits of learning whistled languages, including enhanced auditory discrimination and potential advantages in musical training, have led to experimental programs introducing these skills in broader educational contexts beyond the traditional communities. Digital technology, while initially threatening whistled languages, may ultimately help preserve and transform them. Mobile apps now exist for learning Silbo Gomero and Kuş Dili, creating new access points for people interested in these unique communication systems. Whatever the future holds, the documentation efforts ensure these languages will not be lost to history, even as their everyday usage continues to evolve. The story of whistled languages ultimately transcends linguistics or practical communication. It's a profound narrative about human adaptability and cultural resilience. These languages represent communities' refusal to let geography dictate the boundaries of human connection. When faced with deep valleys and treacherous mountain passes, these cultures didn't accept isolation as inevitable, they transformed their voices to overcome these barriers. This adaptability speaks to something fundamental about human nature. Our drive to communicate transcends obstacles, finding creative solutions to seemingly insurmountable problems. As we increasingly recognize the importance of cultural and linguistic diversity in our globalized world, whistled languages remind us that human communication extends far beyond conventional speech or writing. They demonstrate how deeply language is shaped by environment, necessity, and cultural context. For the communities that maintain these traditions, whistled languages have transformed from practical tools into powerful symbols of identity and continuity with their past. They represent a direct connection to ancestors who used these same sounds to communicate across the same valleys for countless generations. In a world where cultural homogenization threatens linguistic diversity everywhere, the preservation of whistled languages stands as an act of resistance, a statement that unique, place-based ways of being human deserve to continue existing, even as their practical necessity evolves. Whistled languages stand as remarkable testaments to human ingenuity and adaptability. Born from necessity in some of Earth's most challenging terrains, these systems transformed ordinary speech into melodic whistles that could bridge impossible distances, allowing communities to maintain connections across mountains and valleys that would otherwise isolate them. What makes these languages truly extraordinary is not just their practical function, but what they reveal about human cognition, cultural adaptation, and our fundamental need to communicate. The dual hemisphere brain processing they require, the efficient compression of linguistic information they achieve, and their acoustic harmony with natural environments all demonstrate the remarkable plasticity of human communication. As telecommunications technology has diminished their practical necessity, these languages have found new meaning as cultural treasures and objects of scientific study. Their preservation represents more than linguistic conservation, it honors the creative spirit that developed these unique systems and the generations who maintained them. Whether they continue as living languages or evolve into new forms with modern applications, whistled languages remind us that human connection transcends obstacles, finding pathways through mountains and across valleys, echoing not just words but the resilience and creativity of the human spirit. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for updates. Your feedback is appreciated.